What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode number 10 of the Popcorn Bucket. My name is Mav,
I'm Matt.
and we are here together. We're going to talk to you about a favorite of mine, one of my favorite movies of all time. And this was actually a request from one of the listeners that we have, Kim. Kim has been a listener of podcasts that I've been doing for a very long time. And I want to just thank her for supporting us and listening to us. And interacting with us. We do this show a little too late, probably for her to get online and talk to us live when we do live chats and stuff. But she always messages me through Facebook and on Instagram. So make sure that you check us out on those things. We should probably put those up. Subscribe on YouTube and Instagram and hit that bell. We forgot to do that on the last episode, but that's all right. If you can listen to or watch us on YouTube, please do. If you're listening to us on a podcast platform like Amazon or SoundCloud or Apple or Spotify, we appreciate that as well. But we would love for you guys to watch us here on YouTube and spread the word. But yeah, so Kim's been a loyal listener and follower of us for many years. So just thank you again, Kim. So this is for you. Kim asked us to review, and let me see if I can pull up her message here. She wants us to go over My Cousin Vinny. So Matt, how familiar are you with My Cousin Vinny?
I've seen it, and if you ever grew up in New York, everyone wants to talk about it at least like once a day. It's a very prominent movie in like New York, the zeitgeist of New York movie pop culture people.
Right. If you haven't seen My Cousin Vinny, if you are young, or if you just haven't gotten around to see this movie, I highly suggest you watch this movie. Watch it multiple times because it's that funny, it's that good, especially if you're a New Yorker, like Matt says, and also if you're a Southerner, because it takes place in the South. And that's what Kim was even getting at. So I'm going to read you what Kim said. She goes, "Hey, your podcasts have been fun. For the popcorn bucket, can I make a suggestion for the movie My Cousin Vinny? I recently rewatched it, and I think it may be fun to hear Matt's super young opinion and your thoughts now that you are a Southerner. Does it still hold up? What are the actors up to now? Just a thought." So she sent that to me way back in September when we first started the podcast. And again, thank you very much for that. And I will gladly go through this movie with you, for you. So let me bring up the IMDb for this. Maybe it'll give us some insight into the movie. So this movie was made in 1992. I was 10 years old. It's an R-rated movie because of the foul language in it. The cast is Joe Pesci as Vincent Gambini, Marissa Tomei as Mona Lisa Vito, Ralph Macchio, who is the Karate Kid, as Joe Pesci's nephew, Bill Gambini, or William Gambini. Mitchell Whitfield, who plays Stan Rothenstein, which is Ralph Macchio's best friend in the movie. And also some other stars that you might have known. Fred Gwynne, who played Judge Chamberlain Holler, who was also Herman Munster from the old time Munsters show.
Love Herman Munster.
You have Herman Munster's great. You have Lane Smith, who some of you might know as the evil coach in The Mighty Ducks. He played the coach of the Hawks because that's a very bad picture of him. You have Austin Pendleton, who played one of the defense attorneys, who you've seen. Well, if you're my age, here's the thing: like all of these people in this movie who are like nobodies, essentially, they are all character actors that I've seen in a bunch of stuff from the 80s and 90s. If someone isn't watching this that's young, like Matt's age, he probably doesn't. They probably don't know these people from a lot of things. But I've seen Austin Pendleton in lots of different movies as just random characters here and there. Same thing with Bruce McGill as Sheriff Farley. I've seen him in a ton of movies from the 80s and 90s. These are all so he played a defense attorney. Austin Pendleton. Bruce McGill played the sheriff, and then the rest of these people. Maury Chaykin, who played Sam Tipton, Pauline Myers, Rainer Sheehan, James Reborn. These were all witnesses to the crime that took place in my cousin Vinny. So the basis of this story is that the two boys, Will Gambini, who's played by Ralph Macchio, and Stan Rothenstein. I forget why, but they are driving down from New York down south, and they stop in Alabama at a convenience store called the Sack of Suds. And they get back, they go into the store, they buy a couple of items because it's a long road trip. They get back in their car to continue their journey. I forget where they're going. I don't know if that's ever even mentioned. I'm sure it is, but they're going somewhere. They get stopped by a sheriff and they get arrested. They have no idea why they're getting arrested, but they're in the deep South and they are very much not Southerners. They are New York, Brooklyn, Manhattan boys with heavy New York Northeastern accents in the heart of Alabama. And they get arrested and they think that it's very odd that they're getting arrested for being pulled over for a traffic stop. They can't understand why they're getting pulled over for a traffic stop, getting, locked up for a traffic stop. And it ends up that they are not being stopped. They're not being detained for a traffic stop. They're being detained for the murder of the clerk or the register person in the convenience store that they just left. And we all know as the audience that they didn't do it. And the whole movie is Vinny, who is the cousin of Ralph Macchio, being their lawyer and trying to get them out of jail or trying to get them off death row, essentially. Because Alabama has, they're gonna kill them. They're gonna put them on the electric chair if they're found guilty. The catch is that Vincent Gambini isn't an actual lawyer. He's going to school to be a lawyer. I think he might have flunked the test a couple of times. They make it known that he is not good at this. And the lives of these two boys lie in his hands and his ability to be a New Yorker in the courtroom, essentially. I think that's the gist of this movie. What do you want to add anything to that? Or
the only other thing that you're missing is just that he comes with Marissa Tomei, who's
I was going to get to that. I didn't miss that. I was going to get to that. But I think
you hit the nail on the head. Yeah.
So this is a comedy, right? This is not, meant to be, serious at all. But this movie, I actually remember seeing this in the theater. Now, this was very early in my life. Like I said, I was 10 years old. I think before this, the only other movies that I may have seen in the theaters, I definitely saw Transformers the movie in '86. I definitely saw like all the Disney stuff at the time. I think The Little Mermaid came out in '88. I definitely went to see Little Mermaid in the theater. But I remember like going with my mom, my sister, and my aunt to see my cousin Vinny. And I think this was the first time I realized I like girls. Because Marissa Tomei, oh my God, Marissa Tomei in this movie. I don't know how old she was in this movie. She had to be in her 20s. She had to be in her 20s in 1992. Find out when she was born.
I got you.
Yeah. But Maron, as Vinny would say, Vincent Gambini would say, was she friggin' a smoke show? So 11 out of 10 in this movie. And she plays his fiance.
28 years old.
She was 28. She was in her prime, right? She was in her absolute prime. And she's dressed, I want to say she's dressed pretty provocatively for a early 90s comedy.
Yes.
There's one point where she's wearing like a one piece, like late spandex kind of outfit that's just hugging every inch of her. There's another scene where she's, because they're in motels a lot in Alabama during the trial. And she's like wearing like an oversized dress shirt that comes down right past her, goodies. So it's provocative, like as a 10-year-old, I remember feeling awkward next to my mom and my sister in the movie theater. Plus they probably shouldn't have taken me to see this. This is an R movie.
It's not. Yeah, it's an R movie, but 13. You're good.
I wasn't 13. I was 10.
I know, but they're 3 years off.
Yeah. But it was a different time back then. It was a different
Yeah.
time back in the 90s. You know, they took your 10-year-old to the R movies. Um I This movie holds a really dear place in my heart because I've I've probably watched this, I don't know, has to be at least 100 times. Like over the 20, 30 years since I've seen it. You know, this is one of those movies. I can't do this with a lot of movies, but this is one of those movies that I can recite almost every line of the entire thing.
Right.
You know, watching this movie with me sucks because I will not shut up. Because I keep saying, like, my daughter is learning that that dad can be very annoying
The
when
daddy's a nerd.
watching that daddy can, well, with some movies he's a real nerd. Like, she can't enjoy Top Gun with me. She can't enjoy Lord of the Rings with me. She can't enjoy Back to the Future, My Cousin Vinny,
Princess Bride.
Gladiator, oh my god, Princess Bride. Like, she's constantly telling me to shut up, and it's really hard for me to shut up, but I have to because I want them to enjoy it the same way I did. It was funny. Like, this weekend, this Thanksgiving weekend, um, I decided my son, I decided that he had to start watching boy movies that every boy should watch.
Okay.
Okay. So he's 11 years old now, and he's very much into video games and stuff like that. And he has not been exposed to the same, like, his childhood and my childhood are vastly different, right? 30 years apart from each other, 40 years apart from each other, whatever. And he's so out of the, like, I was more in the loop of things going on around me at a young age. Like, I knew things, like, at 10 years old, I knew about, like, the Golden Girls and the Honeymooners and the Odd Couple and Mr. Ed. Like, and that wasn't anywhere near my time of living, you know? Like, I
Yes.
grew up, like I said, in the 90s, and I knew about Leave It to Beaver and, Car 54, Where Are You? Like, all these, like, 60s shows and 50s shows that my parents watched because we had one or two TVs in the house. And if I wanted to watch TV, I had to watch what my parents wanted to watch. And that was what was on TV. Nowadays, my son's up in the loft by himself all day watching stupid YouTube videos while I'm downstairs watching my thing. And he doesn't have to get involved in anything I'm
Right.
watching because he has his own TV or to watch, or another room that he can go into. So I made him watch Rocky and Rocky
Oh,
1 and Rocky 1 and Rocky 2. And I'm like, dude, listen, we're going to turn off whatever it is that you're playing with and come down here. We're going to watch Rocky. And dude, he loved it. He absolutely loved it. But it was like, it was way more mature for him than I thought it was going to be.
you got to start with Rocky 3, dude.
Nah,
I'm
you
telling
can't
you.
start out of order. You
You
can't start out of
can.
order.
If you're 11, that's how I did it. And I fell in love with Rocky. This was actually, I was going to interrupt you and say this too. That's actually
Yeah.
so crazy that we were both thinking boy movie. We thought Rocky. Start with
Yeah.
Rocky 3 because there's like a kid in it, and it's like a little sillier, and it's more of like an action movie.
Yeah. I actually started with Rocky 4 when I was a kid. That was my
Right.
first Rocky experience.
And it's kind of funny when you say growing up, because I grew up with my grandparents like until I was like 5. So I was watching like the Munsters, the Addams Family, Leave It to Beaver, all that stuff. I was always also more interested in what, like, I watched TV that was like, I watched SpongeBob and Jimmy Neutron, all the stuff that was popular when I was a kid. But I was always really interested in like what my older family members were watching. If that makes any sense. Like I watched like so much like the Flintstones and the Jetsons and Rocky and Bullwinkle. Like, I was all about that. So it's kind of funny how even though we're a little bit different aged, that we have like a similar track, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting because, like, my kids don't even know, like, so if you take the timeline, right? If you take me in the 90s and I'm watching the Flintstones, when were the Flintstones, in the 60s?
The 60s, yeah.
Right? So that's a 30-year difference or so, right? 30-year difference. If you take my son now in 2024 and you move him back to 1994, he doesn't know who Ren and Stimpy are. He doesn't know who Beavis and Butthead are. He doesn't know any of that stuff.
Is that like Boy Meets World too? Like that sort of stuff?
Boy Meets World, TGI Friday, which was Family Matters and Full House, and like my kids don't know that stuff like at all. That's not even a memory in their heads, because I'm not watching those things either.
Yeah.
I'm not watching those reruns on TV.
No.
So like I actually tried to make my daughter watch Full House, and she liked it. She actually watched like 10
A
episodes
young
straight.
girl would like Full House. Yeah,
Yeah,
Michelle, and there's a lot of girl problems with Stephanie
yeah,
and
yeah,
the older sister. And
yeah.
John Stamos is cool.
Right.
He's just cool.
But he's just cool.
He'll be
But
cool
back to
forever.
this. Yeah, so this is when I kind of realized I was like, wow, I like girls because I feel awkward in front of my mom watching this movie, and I'm going to continue to watch this movie
A lot.
because I want to watch Marissa Tomei, and it just became a really really funny movie. It's just really really good.
My first time watching it's a little different.
Go ahead.
So it was. I watched it. Let's say it's on the Saturday. The Friday
Mhm.
night before was my
Okay.
sister's final ballet recital. I love my
How old?
sister.
How old's your sister at this point?
She's a senior in high school. This was her final
Okay.
ballet recital. So I'm 22, and I
Okay.
love my sister, but I was so sick to death these goddamn shows, dude. But she was doing it since she was like 3. I'd been to
Yeah.
so many goddamn ballet recitals. And there's my favorite bar in town is across the street, and
Okay.
I got the playbill. And I was with Arthur actually. He came to see. And I went up to my sister. I'm like, okay, tell me every single act that you're in. And she's like,
Yeah.
she was like, if the show was 3 hours, she was in 3 or 4 of the things, which is like 20 minutes
Right.
between. She circled them all. And I went to the bartender across the street and I said, okay, this is the timetable. And between every act that she was not in,
Yeah.
me and my buddy would run across the street and just start drinking.
That's great.
So we got really banged up quickly because he was also like, all right, I'm going to fuck with these kids. This is funny.
Mhm.
So we woke up super banged up, like hungover the next morning. And I was like, dude, what is the most like comfort food, relaxed movie we could watch right now? And he's like, have you seen My Cousin Vinny? I was like, I've never seen it. And then he puts that on. That's my first time watching it, just
So you're
on the
telling
couch.
me you've watched this for the first time a year ago?
Yeah, when I was 22. Yeah,
Wow. Okay.
I
See,
watched
now
it as an adult.
I was under the impression you have seen this 3, 4, 5 times already.
No, I'd only seen it the once. I really enjoyed it. I also, we'll get to that when we get to that. I have another story about it. But yeah, I watched it a little later in life, I guess,
Yeah.
especially by like New York standards. But it's like a great movie. You know, I don't think
It's a really
it's
good
never
movie.
too late for it. It's just like if I had watched it when I was like 14, it probably would
Yeah.
have had the same sort of stigma that it had for you.
Okay.
But now for me, like I watch it and I'm like, this is just a very enjoyable, clever, original, smart comedy.
Right. And if you haven't seen it, with spoilers are ahead, but I mean, it came out fucking 30 something years
30
ago,
years ago. Yeah.
32 years ago. Spoiler alert, he wins the court case, right? The whole movie, the whole movie is about him trying to win the court case for his nephew. I guess is it his nephew or is it? I guess it's his cousin, right?
It's his cousin. Yeah.
It's
It's his
his
kid
cousin.
cousin.
I don't know why I keep calling him a nephew, but
Because you know that in real life, Joe Pesci is significantly older than Ralph Macchio.
right.
Who I've
But I
met,
guess
by
I
the
mean
way. He's a great guy.
Ralph Macchio is or Joe
Yeah.
Pesci.
Joe Pesci, I've heard, is not a nice guy. I've never met him,
Oh,
but I met Ralph Macchio. We hung out for like 20 minutes one time.
okay. Now,
I
if you
met him
look at the, go ahead.
oh, I had a little story. I met him
Go ahead.
at Comic-Con, but
Did
this was
you?
before they did all like the Cobra Kai stuff.
Yeah.
So not nobody cared, but no one was like, there was no line for Ralph Macchio in 2015 or whatever it was. And my mom, that was her childhood crush. She wrote letters to Ralph Macchio
No
like
way.
every day, like Ralph, you're so handsome. If you
Dear
want to, like,
Ralphie.
here's like dear, like writing like love letters.
Wow.
So it was her birthday coming up, and I was like, oh man, like I got to get her a signed picture of Ralph Macchio, the
Yeah.
one she never got. And so I got him to sign it. It said, wax on, Michelle, love, Ralph Macchio. It's in the living room to this day. But
Wax on, whack off.
oh no, it's my mom we're talking about.
Yeah, it is.
God damn it.
Damn it.
And the dude, he loves hockey. We were just talking NHL for like 20 minutes. It was
Is he a
great.
fucking Ranger fan?
He's an Islanders fan. I'm a Rangers
Oh,
fan.
good. You're an asshole. Oh shit. You know who's playing tonight?
Our boy, yeah, your boys throttled my boys, dude.
No, did they?
They killed him.
Yes.
Devils win 5-1.
Oh man, I love it. I can't wait to watch the friggin' highlights. 5-1, baby.
It was over before it started.
Oh,
I think it got to 4-0 in the second. The
that's
Rangers, they got to
amazing.
sell. I've been saying this for weeks. They got to blow up this Rangers team.
Oh, they got a good team, don't they?
No, they
Damn,
got to
man.
get this. Get rid of
Four.
Panarin. Get rid of all of them.
Panarin. I'll take Panarin. Shit.
Yeah,
We're getting
over
too
pay
local.
for him. Sorry,
We're getting too local now. Yeah.
we could talk about that forever. My cousin Vinny.
If you take a look at this picture there that's on the screen, it gives you the impression that Joe Pesci and Marisa Tomei are the same height. Very much not so. She is so much taller than him. It's not even funny in this movie, which makes it funny because, like, how the hell is he even getting this chick? You know?
Yeah, you have no idea. He's not a good-looking guy, Joe Pesci.
So
I never
find
really
it interesting.
was.
No, never. No. But I find it interesting that you think that this is a quintessential New York movie when
Even
it
though
does
it
not
takes
take place in New York.
South. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like the deep South.
Besides like The Godfather and Goodfellas, what Italian New York movie gets quoted more than this?
Bronx Tale.
I hate that one.
I love A Bronx Tale. That's a good movie.
I thought that one was stupid.
Okay. I like it.
I'm sorry.
That's next week.
That came off so mean.
That's okay. That's fine. You don't have to like it. No, you're fine. But I find that interesting that you think this is a quintessential New York movie because of how New York he is and how much he's.
I guess it like exacerbates the whole thing because he's so out of water.
Yeah.
That and like it's constantly bringing attention to how different they're from Brooklyn, right?
Yeah.
He's like a Brooklyn New Yorker, like how out of place with like the leather and the belts and the crosses and the jewelry. I mean, it's perfect. It's a perfect movie. And that they like, I'm not sure you could do it. I mean, they still let you beat up on the Italians, but like, I'm not sure you could do it today all the way.
Well, I think part of Kim's question was, how do you view this? Let's see if I can pull up her question again. She kind of wanted, she kind of wanted me to comment on how I look at this being from New York and living in the South. So let me read it one more time. I recently rewatched it and I think it may be fun to hear Matt's super young opinion and your thoughts now that you're a Southerner. Does it hold up? Okay. First of all, yes, it does hold up. 100% it holds up. I watched it 3 days ago and it 1000% holds up. It might even hold up more now that I live down here. Right. I think it's actually funnier now that I live down here because I notice different things now.
Right.
Okay. So the whole movie is him navigating his way through the South. And I've been down here for 4 years. And it's in the short time that I've been here, it has changed, which is very odd. Like the more and more people move into the South from other parts of the country, the less South it feels.
Right.
Okay. So I was part of a great migration out of the Northeast. Now, I didn't move out of the Northeast. I didn't move down South to get away from COVID like most people did. Okay. I actually made the decision to move down South about 5 months before COVID was even a thing. Like no one ever heard of COVID when I quit my job and started looking for jobs down here. Like I was moving down here. The COVID situation amplified that for the world. So the town that I moved into was a town of like 30,000 people. And now it's like 600,000 people 4 years later. You know?
Really? It's that much?
Yes. It's crazy. It's absolutely insane. It's absolutely insane. And that's not even like the biggest growth in towns. Like there are towns in Texas that had like literally like 15,000 people in it that now have 500, 600,000 people in it. And there were no schools. Like there was one school in the town and now they had to build 8 schools and it's a mess. But the longer I live down here, the more farms I see going away, the more subdivisions I see going up, and everybody is from California. Everybody's from Ohio, Michigan, other places, not from Tennessee. Right. And that makes me kind of sad because I didn't move here to necessarily get away from. I mean, I did move here to get away from New York in a sense. There were things in New York I wanted to get away from, is like taxes and, traffic and that kind of stuff. But there was always a part of me that loved the country. And if I could have afforded to live in like, upstate New York, I would have moved there, but it
Right.
would have still been the same financial situation. So that's why I moved south. Plus you get way better weather down here. I don't ever have to deal with snow or serious snow. But there are parts of the movie that I have dealt with in the same way that Vinny Gambini has dealt with. Okay. And a big part of it is you can tell by looking at people down here who's from here and who's not from here. Right.
Yeah.
And moving down here I don't think I have the strongest New York accent in the world. I know lots of people who have much stronger New York accents than I do. But if you listen to me compared to everyone else that lives here, I sound like fucking my cousin Vinny. I might as well be saying two Utes, right? Because he says the two Utes, and they're like, you're like, what? What was that word? What I say? Ute? What is a Ute? Because people say that to me. Like I've been, at work talking to people, and they look at me like, what? What did you just say? Because I teach. Okay, water. See how I just said that? The way I said water just now was 4 years of practice to say water. Because I don't say water normally. I say water. Water. I don't say water. I say water, right? So that's a big one. And I will never break that word. That word will never leave me.
What about coffee? Are you like the call? Do you go up?
I can't. Of course I say coffee.
Yeah.
Coffee.
Do they look at you for that?
Of course.
That's one of them. Okay.
I can actually start conversations with people, and they don't know where I'm from. They know I'm not from the South, but they don't know where I'm from until I say certain words. Like there are some people who, as soon as they open their mouth, they know that they're from New York because they sound like this. They have that really heavy, like there are some of our friends that have moved down here, and it's like, oh my God, you're gonna get eaten up alive at the corner store or at the grocery store, because they are not kind. Like they're kind, like they're Southern hospitality, but they are they don't necessarily. I've heard lots of people get told to go back to where they came from. And I've heard a lot of people, be asked, are you one of the good Californians? Or are you one of the bad Californians?
Oh.
Yeah, I've witnessed it, and like I would introduce myself sometimes as, hey, I'm from New York, but I'm the good kind, So I teach anatomy, right?
Yes.
So what's the word that comes before anatomy? The species that I teach, the species of anatomy that I teach. What organism?
Human? Oh, you say human.
Yes. I say human with a Y.
Like a ute.
Y-U. Yeah, like a ute. Like I say human. And these little kids make fun of me so hard every time I say it. And I have to say it. It's part of the thing that I teach. I have to say it all the time. And I have to say water all the time too.
Yeah.
So they're constantly
when you instead of saying kids, would you just say little? The wheel of fortune of bad words just came up in my. I'm like, what is he gonna say to describe the kids he teaches that pay to have them as a teacher?
Yeah. But I did the right thing. I made a good choice.
It's a good choice, David. Bad choice, David.
Yeah, no, they're good. They're good, but they make fun of the way I say human. Dude, you have no idea. Like I have to think about how to say the word right before I'm going to say it. And it's like with Stewie from Family Guy when he says Will Wheaton. Like I literally have to sit there and I go humans. I have to humans. And what it would comparing
and you
apples,
also say
comparing apples to the blank. Humid. Yeah, I say humid.
Humid.
Yeah, it's very humid. But when you compare apples to blank,
oranges?
It's orange. Orange. It's not orange.
I say orange.
Orange, right? Oranges. I say orange too. I say oranges all the time. Give me some orange juice. So that's another one. There's lots of them. There's lots of them, and they come out sporadically here and there. But that's one thing that is brought up in this movie because he speaks to the judge, who is a very, very Southern person, and
He
he
does such a
just doesn't
great job in
understand
this
them.
movie. He's so good in this movie too.
Who, the Herman Munster?
Fred Gwynn, yeah, he's so good in
Yeah,
this movie.
so
He's
good.
perfect, and it's also
Yeah,
funny because Joe Pesci is so tiny, and he's Herman Munster. He's huge. He's constantly like
yeah.
leaning over, looking down on him. He's like,
Yeah.
"What did you say?"
And
So,
people are generally larger here. Like, and I'm not talking about like, out of shape larger. Like, people are just bigger and gruffer and harder down
they're
here.
country strong, dude. They drink their
They're
milk.
co- they're country strong. They do manual labor,
They're not.
and
They're
like
not drinking 2% milk, dude. Like us
they're drinking it
pansies,
right from the udder.
the other, not like us pansies up here in the Northeast, dude. They're drinking raw milk.
But you can tell. Like, I can go. Like, I dress like a Southerner. Like, you literally don't
Yeah,
know I'm from anywhere else until you speak to me. Right? Like, the only thing I put on my feet is cowboy boots. Like, I have like
that's
12
crazy.
pairs of cowboy boots. I have my everyday cowboy, my shit kickers, I call them, because you can't wear nice cowboy boots somewhere because people will know you don't wear them all the time.
It looks like he just bought them. Yeah,
It looks like you can only wear like nice cowboy boots like when you go out to a nice thing. Like, if you go to the gas station to get gas and you're wearing nice cowboy boots, people know that's the first time you wore them. You know.
you're
So
getting
I have
profiled.
pairs of. So yeah, you do, because so like when I go to concerts, I don't wear nice cowboy boots to concerts.
No,
I wear my beat up ones, so people know that I wear my beat up ones all the time. Only if I go to, like, I went to like a snooty wine party. To one of my friends that I work with had a snooty wine party, and I wore my fancy boots to the snooty wine party. That's when you do that. But every single day, even to work, I wear cowboy boots to work every single day. You can dress them up and get nice ones and whatever,
damn.
but until I open my mouth, you don't know where I'm from. But I can go to a restaurant and I'm like, that person's from freaking California. That person's from California. That person's from New York, because they just look different. Like, a New
Yeah.
Yorker looks way different than a Californian, which looks
It's also
nothing like anyone in.
our hair, dude. As Italian New Yorkers, we have the thick stuff, dude, and people
Yeah.
know it immediately.
Well, there are staples to outfits, right? So
Yeah,
like the sneakers Californians wear are not the same sneakers that New Yorkers wear.
they wear
Like
Allbirds and stuff like that. On
I don't know
clouds
what.
Allbirds. They look more like meshy.
Yeah.
They're like loose. You know what I mean?
Yeah. First of all, Californians are typically in shape, right? They're
Yes.
typically fit, and they eat avocados, and they have lots of tattoos.
Yeah.
Okay. Southerners do not have a lot of tattoos. Now, when I say lots of tattoos, there are Southerners who have lots of ink, but not in the same way that a California person has a lot of ink,
Yes.
right? A California person will have really bright fucking colors, whole arm sleeve, right?
Yeah.
The California chicks or the Colorado chicks, like
Yeah.
the
The red
Western
and green.
Coast
Yeah.
girls, they have thigh tattoos.
Yeah.
They have full arm sleeve. Girls have full arm sleeves. Girls down here have like a tramp stamp or nothing. Like Southern girls don't have arm sleeves. Southern
Right.
girls have a friggin' butterfly on the lower back, or they got like their kid's name on their shoulder. Like, it's like they don't have full ornate arm sleeves, like a California chick does.
Yes.
If any white person has dreadlocks, they're definitely not from the South. Okay. Like, there are like these hippie chicks down here who wear like the big puffy pants and like these head wraps, and they have like, dreads, and they look like they just opened up like a tea store. Like, those, you can tell those people are not from the South. New Yorkers, on the other hand, they love their sweatsuits. Like,
Yep.
Californians, Southerners don't wear sweatpants. Californians don't wear sweatpants. They'll wear a sweatshirt. They'll wear a hoodie with shorts, like
Yeah.
when it gets kind of cold out. And if they do wear sweatpants, they're tight at the ankles. like the Californians. And the New Yorkers, they wear the tight sweatpants at the ankles.
Yeah.
Not Southerners. Southerners aren't wearing that stuff. Flip flops. It's another thing. Californians wear flip flops. New Yorkers wear flip flops. A Southerner will not wear flip flops. A
Dude,
Southerner
I'm
wears something
learning
called chacos.
Jocko's
Chacos. They're like a mixture between like a Jesus sandal and a Croc.
shoes.
They're like they're not shoes.
How do I spell that? How do I spell that?
Chacos. CHO.
Oh, CHO.
Yeah, Choco. Like almost like chocolate.
CHO.
Yeah. They're like a rubber sandal kind of thing. But that's what Southerners wear. Like Southern guys.
Yeah.
Southern guys like my age will wear like khaki shorts and a polo all the time.
Yes.
And that polo is usually your favorite college team.
Yeah, it's a striped Auburn, Tennessee,
Yes.
Alabama, Georgia,
Alabama,
Ole Miss.
SEC team. Yeah,
on SEC.
SEC team here. Yeah.
I've been known to rock an SEC polo in my day.
Have you?
You have to fit, you got to fit in, dude.
I have a volunteer sticker on my car.
Hell yeah.
I'm thinking about going back to school just so I can get a friggin' degree from an SEC school. Swear to God.
That'd be sick.
I've thought about it. That would be pretty sick.
When I went to visit all my friends down south, when I would go, they would give me, they would like do their laundry, and every night we'd go out. They would give me like a spare SEC polo they'd have. They're like, you have to wear this, like, or else everyone's going to look at you weird. And it's always those super thin, like almost seersucker, thin line this way, Ole Miss, South Carolina polo.
Yeah. The teenagers here are trying to be, or they very much remind me of Long Island kids because they love to wear like Hey Dudes, which are like Sperry's down here. Yeah. It's like the Southern
we have
Sperry.
Hey Dudes. We have Hey Dudes in Long Island.
Okay.
They've made
because they look just like Sperry's.
Yeah, like Sperry's and tube socks.
And they're way more comfortable. Oh, I hate tube socks with Sperry's. That's awful. Go sockless if you're gonna wear Sperry's.
That's what people do in Long Island, though.
Yeah,
call that that's what they call the flids. I'm not sure if you know that one.
I don't know that one. I don't even want to use any part of my brain for that.
It means fucking Long Island douchebag. If you see a guy with like Sperry's and tube socks, like, this fucking flit over here.
Yeah. All right. That I like. That I'll get on board with.
Yeah.
So I can see that aspect of my cousin Vinny down here. So that's still a thing, because what does he walk in? He waltzes into Alabama in black dress pants with a black t-shirt and a black leather jacket and his fucking gold chain. That's another thing. No one has gold chains down here. I'm the only Guido with my Jesus and my pepper. I got
St. Christopher. Who do you have?
St. Joseph.
Yeah, St. Joseph.
Yeah, it's my middle name.
Do you have a leather jacket? I still rock a leather jacket.
I don't have a leather jacket anymore. So that's another thing down here. You don't need jackets. Like, you need light jackets. You don't need a winter coat. Like, I have a winter coat. I have a down jacket with feathers in it and shit that keeps me real warm when I was waiting for the bus in New York City. But I haven't put it on in 4 years. Damn. But yeah, so I get that. And even like he goes to the court, and he's not wearing a suit and tie, and the judge is giving him shit that he has to have a certain dress code, and he goes and gets a suit, and it gets dirty on him, and he shows up in this friggin' tuxedo. Oh, it's so great. What a great movie this is. What else was there so the small town, right? So throughout this movie, one of the ongoing jokes throughout the entire thing is that he can't get sleep at night because every hotel that he goes to, there's an issue. He goes to one hotel where at 3 a.m, all the cattle get brought into the slaughterhouse every night at 3 o'clock in the morning. So it wakes him up every night. He changes hotels, and there's a friggin' freight train that goes through every day at 5 o'clock in the morning. And he goes somewhere else, and there's an owl that keeps him up all night. So you get glimpses of like these small towns and stuff like that. And that is very, very much a Southern thing. And I don't know if that's just not a New York thing, because I'm learning that too. Like, what I think is something that's like Southern that like I've never seen before. Like every town that is down here has a square. There's a town square.
Yes.
Right. So I live in the city of Spring Hill, and there's a Spring Hill town square, and the next town is Columbia, and they have a town square, and then there's Murfreesboro, and they have a town square. That wasn't I never seen a town square in my life
No,
growing up in New York City. Like Staten Island we didn't have a town square. There were towns. I lived in
you
Westerly
could
in Staten
you
Island.
could walk past the town hall on half of the town halls on Long Island, and you wouldn't even know. In
Right.
the South, that's like the middle of the whole borough, God, my New York, the whole county
The
is
whole
that it's literally a square, and it's like all of the places that you go are around in the one place.
Well, that's another thing. Like it's you're a city within a county, and like I didn't like there were counties in New York. Like I lived in Richmond County,
Right.
right? And I didn't ever think of Staten Island as Richmond County. I thought of it as Staten Island,
No, I live in
you
Staten
know?
Island.
Yeah. Um, but that's a very and I don't like I said, I don't know if that's like if you go up to Buffalo or if you go up to Albany or Ithaca, are there squares? Are there town squares?
There are more
You know?
towns like in Albany or yeah, like there are areas, but it's not
But
like it is in the
do they
South
have a
where
town square?
there's
Because
probably like
like
a town.
if you go to the Midwest, if you go to Wisconsin and Minnesota, like I'm sure they have town squares just like they do
They
down here.
they do.
But for me it was very different. So that is definitely like you see that in the movie because there's one part of the movie where Marissa Tomei gets into an altercation with a local. She goes to a bar one night or one afternoon and she plays pool against one of the locals and she beats the guy in pool and the guy owes her $200. And this is like a big ongoing thing in the movie. But he doesn't want to give Marissa Tomei the money. So Marissa Tomei tells Vinny, and it's Vinny's job to go intimidate the big Southerner into giving him the money. Now the big Southerner is 6'4", big burly guy, and little Joe Pesci, my cousin Vinny, has to go up and say, give me my $200, and the guy's like, well, what are you gonna do, little Yankee boy? And that's what he calls him. And it's a real funny interaction scene with Vinny and the big Southern dude. But in that whole interaction throughout the movie with him, you see him at the local bar, you see him at the local, convenience store or whatever, and it's this little tiny small town, and that's what small towns look like down here. So that is definitely true. It's getting to be less and less like that because they're starting to renovate stuff now a lot, and I kind of don't like that. I kind of want it to be old world and
Yes.
old
Not the
South kind of
the
stuff.
simplistic look that everything has. Everything looks like an Apple store now. You don't want that.
Right, right, right. Because we have a really nice little town square that, like, don't touch it. Just leave it alone. It's like if you look at pictures from like 1920 town square of this town, it looks exactly like it does today, just with different banners. Which
Right.
is really really cool.
That is very
The
cool.
courthouse is the same and stuff like that. So that's the same.
We should talk about Mona Lisa a little bit more, I think, because she's like the
Go
biggest
ahead.
part of this movie, I think.
Is she?
She's the star. She steals the show.
I don't think it was intended for her to steal the show, but she definitely
No,
does.
she definitely does. But like when we talk about like we talk a lot on this show about like female characters and male characters and what they like. This is a really good female character. She's very strong. She's knowledgeable.
Mm-hmm.
She's independent. And then like
Mm-hmm.
and I think a lot of people judge her on her cover, and she actually kind of subverts a lot of your initial expectations. So when now that we're backstepping a lot of this woke stuff after what's just happened, like I'm not sure you saw today, like they're literally talking about changing the name back to Redskins. Like it's like undoing the wokeness, I guess, if you want to call it that. Like look
Mm-hmm.
no further than this is a great character. And it resonated with people in 1992, and it resonates with us today in 2024. Like there are ways that we can go about this where, like this is a good thing. This is something that people,
When
men and women, liked.
when did we get tricked into thinking that before 2022 there were no strong women in movies? Because that's just a lie.
It is a lie. We've talked about, yeah, we've gone down the list and listed a ton of badass female characters. And then, yeah, you're right. We got tricked into thinking that there weren't any of them. I think maybe it was Captain Marvel might be the start.
Hmm.
I'm trying to think
because
of
like you
movies.
said, like she and Vinny doesn't necessarily demean her at all. If
No,
anything, there's one
never.
part where he's frustrated. There's a part in the movie where he's frustrated with her, not with necessarily with her. He's frustrated with the case and the not the defense, but the prosecution brought in a surprise witness who's like an expert in tire marks, and he doesn't know how to combat this witness. So he's they're in recess and he's at a diner and he's eating and he's looking at photos, and she comes in and she wants to help. And Mertz Tomei says, "How can I help?" And he's very frustrated at the moment. He thinks he's lost the case, and he's a little mean to her at that moment, right?
He's curt.
Um,
Yeah,
he's curt with her,
but
and
again,
he,
like a human being,
right, like a human.
like a human. Yeah,
He yeah, he gets upset and he says some things that he probably shouldn't say. But in the end, he loves her. He thinks the world of his fiance, and he shows it at the end where he puts her on the stand and he puts all of the faith that he has into his fiance because he knows how smart she is and he knows how cunning she is and how she's going to, if she can just see past him being a jerk, how she's going to blow this case wide open for him. you
yes,
know so that's a really good point. I'm glad you brought that up. um and yeah, but she is also but she's also feminine at the same time.
yeah.
Like
She's very feminine. Yeah,
she's truly a feminine character. And there's like you said, there's nothing wrong with being truly feminine and being strong and power and educated and smart and all that stuff. And it was given to us in the past. It's not a new thing.
no.
Ripley from Alien, you know,
Sarah Connor,
Sarah Connor, so many of these. There's so
Dorothy
many
Gale
characters.
from
Leia,
1930, whatever,
yeah,
1939, 1941, I forget. But again, we've seen plenty of them, and this is another great example of that. We've had it, and then you're right, they did trick us. They psyoped us.
yeah,
They brainwaved us. They gave us the
they
blue
sure
pill.
did. But hopefully, well, they didn't give me no blue pill. I've been fighting it forever. Cost me a lot of friendships, but I fought it forever. That's okay. The friendships I didn't need, I guess. Um, but yeah, so there are lots of memorable moments in this movie. I don't know if you have a favorite memorable moment. There are so
I do.
many of them.
I do have one that ties into. When I was in college. There was
Hmm.
this professor, and he was. I'm still. I haven't reached out to him in a second. I should probably do that tomorrow. He's a really, really nice guy. He got me my first job out of college. We always had a really good relationship, and we would always keep in touch. But he was like a high power CEO of like this big ad firm. So
Hmm.
everyone always wanted to impress this guy. And one of the last classes of the year, he does Jeopardy, but he makes up the questions based on the student.
Oh
And he's
wow.
going around, and I'm like, I don't think of myself. I'm like good at trivia. Typically, like on Jeopardy, I can get a couple, like real Jeopardy, I can get a couple right answers. And it was like a film school related class, so I really thought like, okay, like I got a shot of like pulling something out of my ass, for lack of
Hmm.
a better word. And he's going around, he's giving people like movie questions I know the answers to. I'm like, God, like wish he would ask me this question. And I'm like, it's my turn. And I'm like, all right, I'm up. And he's like, you're from like New York, right? He's from the Midwest. I'm like, yeah, I'm from New
Yeah.
York. He's like, what are grits? No idea. For the
Oh.
whole class, I hadn't seen the movie yet. I was like,
Oh.
I've never seen a grit. I don't know what
Yeah.
grits are.
It's
But then
corn.
and then he came up to me, and at the end he was like, you should watch My Cousin Vinny, by the way, New York boy,
Yeah.
and told me to go home.
And that's another thing. Like the food down here,
Yes,
they've never heard of certain things, and we've never heard of certain things. And it makes me sad to think that like the more like I almost don't want people to come down here and live here, but I'm part of the migration,
yeah.
you know?
You are what you hate.
And
Yeah,
what makes countries so great is that, or I don't want to say countries, what makes cultures so great is that they are different from one another, right?
absolutely.
So if like take America out of the situation. If you look on a map of Europe, like France and like I don't know what's next to France?
London is
I-
close.
England, Italy,
Yeah,
right? They're
vastly
like
different.
they couldn't be more different, right? England, Italy, Germany, and France. could not be more different from one another, but they would all fit in the space of the United States,
Yes.
right? If you think of like the proximity of these places to one another, they're very, very different places, but very, very close to one another, but so socially different. And the same thing goes for us. We have Northeasterners and we have Southerners and we have West Coasterners and Midwesterners, right? I think that that's a pretty fair, like we have 4 or 5 major areas. Right? We have the West
Yeah.
Coast.
The
You have the
NFL did
Midwest.
the NFL did it with the
Yes.
South,
Yeah.
South, North, Central.
Yeah. Exactly.
East
Yeah.
and
All
West.
the sports teams do it.
Yeah.
But the more people kind of moved from one place to another, the more similar everything's going to become. And the
Yeah.
more you're going to lose the culture, you know, which, and I don't think there's a way to stop that.
No.
The more as things progress and as things, you know, keep moving along, I think you're going to lose the individuality, the identity of these cultures, because like, and I think the internet is the reason for it, right? Because we've had the ability to move from one place to another pretty easily for the past 100 years, right? We've had trains, we've had airplanes, we've had cars. You know, it was hard before all that stuff, right? It was real hard to get in a horse and buggy and go cross country, or to go like I'm 850 miles away from New York. It'd be hard to go 850 miles without some means of mechanical transport. But we've had airplanes and trains and cars for a long time, but only when you go on Zillow and see, wow, I can get a house in Tennessee for half the price of where I'm living in New York,
and pay no
like,
taxes or
and
whatever
pay
it is.
no taxes. Like that house always existed, and you always lived in New York, but you didn't see it until Zillow came around, you know? And
Never
once
even crossed
you
your mind to move to another
never even
state.
crossed your mind, never even crossed your mind. And now it's just, you know, the internet is just causing all of this to happen. And it's kind of sad, but it's kind of interesting in the same respect. But in, you know, this movie is about acceptance as well, I think, right? Like he's not accepted in the South. He's not accepted by the judge. He's not accepted by the jury, right? There's a whole part of the jury where they're doing jury selection, and the prosecutor who is prosecuting the 2 boys is a very Southern guy.
Yes.
And you find, and it's very true down here, that, you know, people stick together. You know, if you're at a place of work and you're looking for a promotion, and there's, you know, a Southerner, doesn't matter, you know, what race they are, but if there's a Southerner and you're up for the same promotion, there might be a good chance of the Southerner getting it because they stick together, or maybe they feel they have more in common with that person and they can work better with that person because of the connection that they have to the Southern roots or whatever, you know.
Right.
And he has to prove himself down there. He has to prove himself worthy of the jury. He has to prove himself worthy to the judge. That's a very big part of this movie.
Yes.
How he has to prove his worth to the judge, that he's not just some hot shot from New York trying to,
Smart
you know,
talking, wisecracking. Yeah.
right. And people down here, they want you to prove yourself to them. You know, they want you to, you are at a disadvantage from not being from here until you have.
They shit test you, especially when they hear
do.
you're from New York.
Oh yeah.
There's a big stigma around a lot of different New York personalities, and a lot of them contradict the traditional Southern way of life and mannerisms and kindlinesses, right?
And like I said, when I've heard people from California be told, don't don't bring your politics down here, don't try to I've heard someone say, don't California my Tennessee, to a person, like at the bank or like at a supermarket.
Damn.
Like I've heard that. I've heard it been said to them, you know.
That's rough.
And it's rough, but you kind of understand what they're talking about. You know, this was a town. The town I live in was nothing but farms. Like it was to be honest, my town doesn't have a town square. The next town over does. My town doesn't have one. The reason for that is because they never needed one. They didn't need a town square because no one lived here.
Yeah.
Everyone drove through here to get to the next town. Right? This was literally just farms. People drove through the farms to get to the next town that had which was Columbia, which is it's like one of the major like car centers for like the South. Like
Okay.
the Pickers guy, the American Pickers guy, Mike.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Like one of their shops is in Columbia, Tennessee, and like it was called Motor Alley. Like all of the car stuff was down here, and like it was a big hub for like car manufacturers and auto body shops and stuff like that. But they literally just drove through this town to get to the next town. So these people have been living here their whole lives. They haven't been bothered by anybody, and all of a sudden there's 500% more people here that don't speak how they speak, that don't eat what they eat, they don't look like what they look like, and it's intimidating to them, And I can see that, and this movie does a good portrayal of that, which is pretty cool. What else can we say? What else can we talk about with my cousin Vinny? I mean,
trying to think,
I
we
don't
got to keep Kim happy.
Yeah, we got to keep Kim happy. I mean, the movie itself, I don't know what else there is. I mean, I'm sure most people that are watching this have seen the movie.
I know we haven't done a very good job of actually talking about the movie, but I think we're answering her question.
Yeah, I think that's what this is a 5 out of 5 movie for me as far as comedy goes. I can watch this movie a billion times.
Here's one. Just going pure New York.
Mm-hmm.
The movies like this kind of frustrate you when people kind of let's say dishonestly emulate it, because that frustrates me. As two adult Italian men, when people like overdo it and they like see something like this, and like it's typically like men.
I don't think this is overdone though.
No, when people see it and then do it. You know what I'm saying?
Are you getting butthurt because of Italian stereotypes?
No, but I see people and I'm not getting butthurt, but I see them like I know you don't talk like that. I went to high school with you, and then all of a sudden they're like these are kids that you taught that I went to school with that are now all of a sudden like slicking back with like a half a bottle of mousse every day. The black, like literally the My Cousin Vinny uniform, doing videos on the internet, and I'm like,
but I've also
I know this is an act.
I taught in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. Like I've literally taught My Cousin Vinny. His name was Nick. I'm not going to say his last name because I'm pretty sure he was his dad was was connected.
I'm pretty sure it ends in a vowel though.
But I taught the Della Russos. I taught the Knicks of the world.
Yes.
I have taught people that they made the character from.
Yes.
They based My Cousin Vinny on a certain type of person, and I taught all those people.
I know some of them I'm just like, I've seen them like just adopt it so heavily that I'm like, I know you don't talk like that.
Right.
I know you're doing it. That if listen, I've met the kids that do talk like that. I know them too. I know the kids you're talking about, and they're legit. But then there are kids that are just like, oh, like your mom is Jewish.
But that's all right. It's not an Italian thing. It's a New York thing.
I guess, but I just some of them just overdo it for me. Like they watch the Sopranos.
I know Irish people that sound Italian.
I do too. My boss, his last name I won't say is he's Irish, but he's very Italian. Like upon the eye test, like this guy's Italian.
Right.
But I don't know. Like you like see like an Italian kid, and he's like watched the Sopranos once, and then you go over to his house, like he's like, sit down, have a drink. I'm like, no, you don't talk like that. You're doing a character. Pisses me off sometimes. I don't know.
I had family members that acted like that.
Yeah.
I mean, my mom could be an Italian grandma on TV show, an overacted Italian grandma on TV show, and that'd be totally my mom. And she's not trying to impress people with her.
I guess. I don't know. I guess it's because my mom's family is Italian. Like our last name is Giacalone, and none of them talk like that at all.
Right.
So I guess I'm a little bit inquisitive. I'm like, really? Is that what's going down?
Sometimes it does come out though.
I've had it come out and I get embarrassed, dude. I won't lie.
When I go visit New York, I usually go up for Thanksgiving. I get more New York when I go back up to New York.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I kind of suppress it down here, but when I go back up there, I'm way more New York than I am down here.
There are certain
And
topics that get me going.
when I'm out to eat and I'm ordering food,
Yeah.
I'm talking to a waiter like I'm a New Yorker. I'm not talking to a waiter like I'm down here talking to a waiter.
It comes out. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
let me get a couple of these.
I might call somebody chief or boss
Oh, I hit chief,
or pal.
captain. I love it.
I've
I
never
love
called
hitting
anybody
somebody.
captain.
What's going on, Captain? I hit someone that today in the cafeteria. He looked at me like I had 4 heads.
I've never heard anyone ever say that ever.
But there are
So
topics like if I'm talking about like
yeah,
like the Mets, like if I get heated about the Mets, the
you
full
know,
accent comes out. Like you can't fucking step on second base. like comes out, and I hate it.
I started playing. I was in a band in New York for a long time, and I moved down here, and I was able to buy a lot of guitars because I've invested and done side gigs and stuff. So I wanted to start getting into that again. So I found a couple of guys that I've been jamming with, and it comes
Oh,
out.
nice.
It comes out when I'm doing that stuff. Cause like,
Yeah.
you know, I'm telling the drummer, I'm like, no, you gotta go like this, you know, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? It's
Vic,
like,
you're a good man. You know what I mean? You're
you know what I mean?
the full Oz Cobb.
And like, you know, when you're not thinking about it, like, cause I'm like I said, I'm consciously thinking about how I say things now because I don't want to sound like the stereotype that they put on me. Um, but when you're not thinking about it and you're just going with it, like when I'm rehearsing with these guys or whatever, and like with these guys, like I just said it, when I'm hurting with these guys, you know, like it just comes out. But what are some big moments in this movie? The two Utes, that's a big one.
The Utes is very good. We hit the
The
big ones.
dead on balls accurate, that's a big one. Do you remember that scene?
Yeah, dead on false act.
When it's kind of like a weird sexy scene where they're talking about
Yeah.
tools and she's getting all she is showing all that's how they kind of let you know that she knows her shit about tools because in her family, Marissa Tomei's family in this movie they're all mechanics. My father was a mechanic, my grandfather was a mechanic, my two cousins on my mother's side were mechanics. So she goes this whole thing, right?
Dude, it sounds
And
like one of my bosses, dude. I love
oh
him.
really?
His dad was a mechanic. I'm not sure if you know, like near City Field, it's
Yeah,
all chop shops. There's blocks of chop shops.
yeah.
And what they'll do is when you're driving by, they'll like knock on your window and be like, "Oh, like your mirror or this, like you got a problem, like come in here." And it's like I don't know, he's been working there for a long time, but they like brought him in, and they're like, "You need this converter here taken out," and,
Yeah.
and he was like, and he goes and he's like, "My dad's a fucking mechanic. I don't need this bullshit," and then just left. I love that story so much. And they knew his car too. He's been working there for like 3 years. They've never pulled him over again. They're like, "All right, he knows he's not going to be scammed."
Yeah, you're gonna want that Johnson rod and the Finnegan pin.
Yeah, they tried, and his dad literally was a mechanic, and he went up to him like that weekend. I love this story.
Yeah.
And then he was like, "Dad, do I need anything fixed?" Like, your car's fucking fine. What are they telling? But yeah, those are the real guys that sound like that. It's funny.
Yeah. The deer, because he
Yeah.
tells him the deer. That's probably the most famous line in the movie with the deer, because he so the prosecuting attorney asks or invites Vinny to go hunting with him, and he tells his wife or his fiance that he's going to go hunting with the other guy, and she goes, "Boy, hunting? What are you going to hunt?" And he's like, "I don't know, deer or something." She goes, "You're going to shoot a deer?" And he goes, "I don't know if I have to." And she goes ballistic and has this tirade about, imagine you're a deer, right? And this whole thing. And it's probably the funniest, most repurposed or, you know, thing in the entire movie was her diatribe on the deer. Also, when she goes nuts about her biological clock,
Yes.
when they're at the cabin and he promised her a long time ago that when he wins his first case, they can get married. And it's funny because she's upset, not because that he's doing a shitty job in the courtroom and not that these two boys' lives are on the line. She's more worried about if he doesn't win this fucking case,
I'm not getting married.
he's not getting married. And she goes on this. She goes, maybe it's not the best time to ask, but it's a real Italian woman thing to do. Meanwhile, my biological clock is ticking like this. It's great.
Do you think Joe Pesci likes this movie? That's another
My
thing I like to
niece,
ask you.
the daughter of my sister, is getting married. It's great. What do you think? What'd you say about Joe Pesci?
Do you think he likes this movie? Because this really changed his career.
Before this, what was he in? Like prior
before this,
to
he's in very serious movies. He's in like Raging Bull, Goodfellas. No, wait. No, this is before Goodfellas.
Let's see. Known for, actor, 46 movies.
No, this is after Goodfellas. This is 2 years after Goodfellas.
Is it?
And this is way after Raging Bull. It's 2 years after, way after Raging Bull. But like when he does this, then like he does like a couple. I'm looking here, like he does like Casino and Bronx Tale and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. But now he's in like Home Alone. Like so, he has like a comedic turn, and it seems like at the end of his career, he really started doing more comedy. I mean, he is funny, but he's not like it's the same character, but you're watching Goodfellas and he's terrifying.
Right.
Like you think he's going to kill you at any moment. And then he does this. I don't know. He also has been very outspoken about how he doesn't like acting and how he would, if he could have done anything else, he would have. Which I think is crazy for someone that's had such a successful career.
Wow.
He hates it. There's like a video of him on the set of Goodfellas. Like, oh, like if you could say anything to a younger actor, what would you say? He says, don't.
Huh. He was in JFK. Home Alone was before this.
That I did not know. He looks so much older in Home Alone than he does in this.
You're right. Home Alone was because he's bald in that movie.
Yeah.
Home Alone is 1990. Goodfellas was 1990. He was in Lethal Weapon 2.
Dude, he's in Lethal Weapon 3 and 2.
Easy Money.
I mean, you were alive. I mean, this guy seems like he was the biggest star in the world for like 4 years. His
earliest credit is 1961. Oof. And then nothing for like 15 years.
He must have been a child actor.
Yeah.
If he's uncredited, he must have been a child actor. And Raging Bull, that's like he's so good in that movie. That's like the most upsetting movie you can watch.
He was Dancer in the Club.
Yeah.
1961. And then 1980 was Raging Bull. That's when he got his big.
You definitely hate Raging Bull.
I've never seen Raging Bull. It's a boxing movie, right?
Yeah, he's a bully. He's a mess.
Is he?
Joe Pesci's it's actually weird.
Isn't De Niro in that too? De Niro's in there, right?
Yeah. De Niro, it's actually kind of funny because you always think of Pesci as the hothead and De Niro as the kind of like mellow one. In this one, it's the opposite. Pesci's like the level-headed, thoughtful one, and De Niro is a complete animal.
Wow.
It's a great movie, but it's a tough watch. It's not enjoyable for 1 second. Like, oh, that was nice. Like, it's all bad. It's like, wow, how can it get much worse? And then it just gets worse every single time. It starts bad. Like he's already in like a bad marriage. And then like it just gets worse.
Oh. But it's
great.
It's an all-time great, I was gonna say. But what else can we say? Go out and see this movie. Or stay home and see this movie.
Yeah, you can watch it anywhere.
Yeah. But well, Kim, I hope that did the trick for you. It was an hour and 10 minutes of my cousin Vinny kind of dialogue. Ralph Macchio is hardly even in this movie. He doesn't have to say much. It's all about Vinny and Marissa Tomei. And maybe the judge.
And
I would say
Munster.
maybe and Herman Munster. Those three individuals are probably the biggest parts of this whole movie.
Herman Munster, by the way, is one of the greatest athletes of his generation.
Is he?
Oh my God, I love the Munsters. He had a tryout for the Dodgers. He won.
Holy cow!
He got a spot on the team. I know you hate golf, but he overdrove a par 5.
What's that mean? He overdrove it.
He overdrove the green. He hit it like 600 yards.
Holy shit!
The longest drive on the tour is like 350.
He's like 6'8", isn't he? How tall is
he's a monster. Love Herman Munster.
I wonder if he could Him and Uncle Milty. I wonder if they could have a competition. You know?
I went down a rabbit hole with the Munsters.
Yeah.
Actually, if again, this is all for Kim at this point. So he's obviously like Frankenstein.
Right.
Do you know who built him?
Dr. Frankenstein.
No, it's the wife's dad, the grandpa, the vampire. Because
The hell are you talking about?
So in the Munster basement, Grandpa.
In the Munsters. Oh,
yeah,
yes,
the Munsters.
Yeah.
The
I thought you meant who built Frankenstein.
No, who built Herman Munster? It was the grandpa, because his daughter was the most beautiful, precious woman in the world to him, and he needed to create the perfect man. So he created Herman Munster for his wife.
That's what he got, huh?
That's what he cooked up.
What was Grandpa's name?
I think it's just Grandpa.
No, there's a name.
He went by Grandpa, but Eddie Munster only called him Grandpa.
You know, he had a restaurant, right?
Eddie Munster?
No, Grandpa.
I did not. No, he's just Grandpa. Al Lewis just plays Grandpa.
Let me see if I can find it.
He had a restaurant in New York?
In like the tri-state area. Yeah, there was like a chain of restaurants. It was called Grandpa's.
Yeah, dining at Grandpa's on Bleecker Street. Oh, that's prime real estate, dude.
Grandpa's restaurant.
Yeah, I got it. Bella Gente. Grandpa's.
Yeah, Bella Gente. Yeah, it's called Grandpa's. It has a little face on it.
I love that.
That's right. Yeah, bet you didn't know that, huh?
Yeah, the hits
I've
just
been there
keep coming on this. I've been
there once or twice. Yeah, I remember my dad took me there, and he's like, "You know Grandpa from the Munsters?" Because we used to watch it all the time. He's like, "Oh, we're gonna go to his restaurant." I'm like, "Okay,
Go to Grandpa's restaurant. Why not?"
Yeah, he's not in My Cousin Vinny. Grandpa,
no,
only Herman.
They only got one Munster. Only the budget for one of the Munsters. There's 5 of them. There's 4 in the cousin.
Mr. Gambino. You'll love it. I want to see you in my chambers. It's great. It's so great. He tells him, because he's not a licensed lawyer in this movie. He lies and says he's a licensed lawyer.
No.
So, the judge, what's the judge's last name in this movie?
I don't know. I keep Xing out the IMDb page. I don't know why I do that.
Yeah. And now I clicked on Joe Pesci. I'm not even on the correct page anymore. Judge Holler. And the judge calls up the county clerk and was like, there's no paperwork that says you are on, the board of lawyers or whatever the hell he calls up. And he goes, he makes up this whole big story how he was an actor, and he's like, I had to change my stage name from Gambini to Jerry Gallo.
Yeah, he guesses, right?
Yeah, he guesses. No, he uses a very famous lawyer's name.
Okay.
Right. So he tells Marissa Tomei, and he's telling that he called up the county clerk and he knows I'm not a lawyer. And she goes, "What'd you tell him?" And he goes, "Well, I told him my name was Jerry Gallo." And she goes, "Oh my God, Jerry Gallo, the famous attorney?" And he's like, "Yeah." She goes, "Oh, that's great." He goes, "Oh, really? You think so?" She goes, "No, you asshole. He's fucking dead." And he's like, "What?" And she's like, "Yeah, he died last week. Didn't you see it? It was all over the papers." And he's like, "Oh, I didn't read the articles." And she goes, "Way to go." So then he calls up and asks the county clerk if Jerry Gallo is a lawyer. And the judge finds out that Jerry Gallo died. And he's like, Mr. Gambino, in my chambers. And he goes, I called up the county clerk and they have no record of Jerry Gallo. And he goes, "Jerry Gallo? Of course they're not. He's dead." Of course they're not going to find him. He's dead. He goes, "I'm aware of that. I'm Jerry Callow with a C." That was great. So great. So stupid and so great.
You're making me want to watch it again.
You got to watch it again, man. You got to watch it again. It's so good.
It's on like Showtime or one of those every now and then. And I catch a couple minutes of it.
Just make sure you watch it on a channel that doesn't have commercials, because it drags it out too long.
Yeah.
Watch it on an HBO or a Showtime or a Superbox.
I don't mind commercials. I'm not anti-commercial.
But it makes an hour and 45-minute movie 3 hours. It's ridiculous. And you lose the momentum. I guess,
especially with a comedy.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. You told me there's no train that comes over here at 5 o'clock in the morning. He goes, no, it usually comes at 5:15. So great, whatever it is. Forget the time, but that's such a Southern thing. Like you ask a Southern, does the train come through here every day at 5 o'clock? No, and they'll just say no. And then you'll ask them the next day, and you're like, you told me it doesn't come here at 5 o'clock. No, it comes at 5:15.
You didn't ask about 5:15. You asked about 5.
And they're not trying to be assholes. That's just, they're answering the question you asked them.
They're timely.
It is everything does take a lot. Everything takes a lot longer down here, which is fine.
If the train passed through at 5:50, at 6 o'clock, I'd say it does.
Right.
It's a whole hour.
Right.
They're like, is it coming around at 5 in the morning? That to me, that's like basically, does that mean it comes before 10 o'clock in the morning? But it comes mad early, dude. I would say that.
Mad early.
Bro, it's mad early.
They do have slang down here. There's lots of that. I can't keep up with it all. I have no idea what these kids are saying these days. Even my own kids. But anyway, my cousin Vinny, 5 out of 5 popcorn buckets.
All for you, Kim.
Marissa Tomei, 7 out of 5 popcorn buckets. Even to today, she's still hot.
For you, Aunt May. Sounds like you want the Dune popcorn bucket for Marissa Tomei.
Oh, man. I got to get me one of those. I can hide it in plain sight. For those of you who don't know, go look it up. Look up the Dune popcorn bucket. Until you do, I'm Mav.
I'm Matt.
See you later, everybody. See you, Kim.
God bless.